Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Kislev led by Torsen versus the Dwarves, who are going to be helmed by Don't Try So Hard here on the Haunted Vale. And always an interesting matchup. This one is very Dwarf favored. In my experience, the Dwarves probably have like a 60-70% win rate in this matchup. Their cannons are very dominant, right? Because little Groms just get completely dunked on by Dwarvish cannons, especially if there's a Malachi Makaisen sitting by them, for example. You can really augment their damage and range. And then the Dwarvish infantry are tricky to take down, right? A lot of your infantry, anti-infantry tools for Kislev, whether it be Zargard great weapons, things in the woods, chariots, all get hammered pretty hard by Dwarven shooting and slayers. That's not to say it's an unwinnable matchup. Kislev does have the mobile advantage, a lot of cheap diving options that are very tough to peel with the costified dervishes. And yeah, they have their own decent quality infantry as well. So very curious to see how this game is going to be going. We got Wolfarts, Akshina ambushers lurking on the side here. Now, I like these against dwarves. You might think they're a weird choice, like why would you bring non-AP missiles against dwarves, but against slayers, which are very common. So when you start to bring out slayers and things in the woods, or excuse me, cavalry and things in the woods, they're going to bring out slayers. And then your Akshinas can pound those slayers really, really hard. Plus against gyrocopters, they can also snare them down using the pack trap ability. Ice Witch over here, Armored Kossars, and Zargard Great Weapons, which, look, if they can get in fighting without getting nuked, they can wreck Dwarvish infantry. The issue is them getting shot or, basically just getting hammered by artillery. We'll see how it goes. Now, for the Dwarven army, it's going to be pretty well-rounded. Dwarf Warriors, Blasting Charges, and Great Weapons in the secondary line. A little bit off meta, actually. Longbeards with Great Weapons are not common in this matchup at all. They're okay. They're certainly not bad, but it's different. We do have Iron Drakes, the Trollhammer Torpedoes, Gyrocopters, and a cannon in the back, which Homie's going to need to defend for sure, because we do see the Akshina going Spec Ops back here. And Dwarves can't really respond to Spec Ops plays very quickly. They can call in some blasting charges, but it's not like they can punish this, right? Like going deeply and greedily like this against most factions, they could call it like a Hellstrider or a Warhounds and just kill them very quickly. But against Dwarves, you can definitely get back there and have a little bit of fun. Cannon fire shooting into the Ice Witch. Ice Witch going to be hiding in the trees right there. We do see it fleeing and mitigating those shots. So the Dwarves, happy on objective 1 and 2. They definitely should be using the gyrocopter to do a little bit of scouting over here. And we are going to see the Akshinas move there. The gyrocopters could definitely take the Akshinas down. If you get one gyrocopter to dive them in melee and the other one to shoot it, you could definitely rip those guys up pretty good. Nonetheless, Wolfarts, more Akshina ambushers. And the big goal for Kislev is going to be getting its Zargard with Great Weapons into melee without getting wrecked on the way in. And if they can do that, they will cut through massive amounts of Dwarvish infantry. Because like Longbeards with Great Weapons are going to get dunked on. The Zargard are another category. They are, 300-400 gold more expensive, anti-infantry, better stats, just in general a bit of a stronger unit. Now, we do see the net going down here. So the gyrocopters do get caught in the pack trap. Kossar is also going to be shooting them as well, and that's a great value right there. Very, very good start here by Torsen. Beautiful play. The steam cannon's going to be shooting in, and look at the ambush. I mean, these are the kind of things, these are the plays you need to make. In order to win a matchup that's very cursed, you need to have these advantageous starts, because despite one gyrocopter dying instantly, a cannon being taken offline, I can assure you that this is still going to be a contested game. Like, it's still not going to be easy. The Dwarves are that much of a menace in this matchup, in my experience. So nice Akshina ambush in the back, and a nice ambush right there going after the other gyrocopters. And the guns, the Trollhammer Torpedoes, should definitely be shooting at the elite infantry in the back, although Watchmen of the Night are kind of an elite infantry, so taking those bad boys down isn't going to be a bad call. As they do move forward with their glowing sabers, looking very, very cool. I've always been like shocked that these guys don't do magic damage. I'm like, why? They have like glowing fantasy ice swords and they don't do magic damage. Kind of weird. There's like mages in this game that are wielding like fire swords, like swords on fire don't do magic damage. There's a lot of funkiness. And it's not, I don't even think it's a balance thing. I think it's just honestly oversight, to be honest. So the battle is on. Crystal, ooh, look at that. That's cool as shit. Using Crystal Sanctuary on the Watchmen of the Night. And they're already in combat, so give them 80% ward save, and then they also get the lore passive, the Ice Shield. Where the hell is that? Yeah, so Frost Shield for armor and a little bit of durability. That is actually a really cool combo. But the Zargard do get in, and honestly, everything is going very well for Kislev. The Akshina ambushers are shooting at slayers. They are able to close the distance, and the dwarf armies getting some nice blasting charges. Their character is a little bit idle. Those dwarves need to get in combat here. And we do see Frostblades activated on the Armored Kossars here, making them slightly better fighters, but at the end of the day, probably wasn't worth it on that particular unit. Should have used it on the Zargard, but, a little bit of a mistake. Nothing to write home about. Zargard Great Weapons getting into combat versus a lot of the dwarves. Going to be cutting these guys down pretty good with their big old Great Weapons. And here, the steam cannon's going to be providing some nice overwatch fire, while the Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes try and snipe into the Ice Witch, which is a bit of a mistake. Definitely should be shooting into some of the more elite targets if it can. So Slayers do actually catch the Akshina ambushers that were on the side. They really overstayed their welcome. Akshinas are slower than Slayers. Slayers have 40 speed. They pump those Dwarven legs. They're natural sprinters, and they are able to push back the Akshinas. And even after all that, the cannon comes back online. So that's going to make the game much harder for Kislev. Things in the Woods on the way in, and now that the Dwarves don't really have a lot of shooting, the Things in the Woods will be very effective. Slayers, oh, Doomseekers, nice. Good play here by Don't Try So Hard, using the Doomseekers in the front to counter the Zargard, or at least trade evenly with them. That's a brilliant choice. You know, I wouldn't have thought to bring those in this matchup if I were playing Dwarves myself. That's always cool to see different playstyles being used, right? But the Doomseekers got a rip and tear right there, as we do see the Dragon Slayers chasing some of the Akshinas into the Shadow Realm. Longbeards versus Zargard, a bit of a knockdown, drag-out fight. And the two Things in the Woods got to rip through these Longbeards pretty easily. And it looks like the Akshinas being sent into melee to help them. Or maybe, yeah, it looks like they were giving a shooting order, and then they just kind of, misclicked or something. I'm not sure. But Things in the Woods get the job done. Cannon is going to be training on the right target, so good target priority coming in from the Dwarves, who are kind of stabilizing at this point. So though they've been triple capped, now we're starting to see it develop into like more of a meta situation where the Dwarven cannons really, really start to feast. And the Doomseekers over here, very big. Zargard with the Crystal Sanctuary combo is pretty MLG. I do love that. 80% ward save is a lot, and it's definitely going to help them get through some of the Doomseekers and some of these units. Buyer Blood is activated, so Homie's going to be unbreakable for a period of 20 seconds, basically fighting to the bitter end right here, having gotten about 1,000 value, so they've about paid for themselves, which is quite good. Griffin Legion coming in, risky against Dwarves, a very juicy target for cannons. If this Dwarven cannon, if he was really watching and just trained in on the Griffin Legion here, it would be rough. I mean, they would lose about 40% of their models before they close the distance, and then there would be Slayers back here, right? But Kislev is doing a good job stuffing the Dwarves back. We do see the Dragon Slayer character. He is here. Looks like he overchased, and now he's just eating arrows to the faces. Another Akshina ambusher is going to be on its way in here. Armored Kossar is going to be rotating to the middle as the Dwarven cannons continue to sing in the deep and really lay a hammering in on the Things in the Woods here. But Griffin Legion might get back here and get the job done. I mean, this is a very frenetic game. The Dwarf player's micro and intention may be elsewhere, as we do see Gyrocopters being used in melee against Armored Kossar. Is a bit of a funky one there. Maybe he was trying to dodge something. I'm not sure. But Doomseeker is going to be making their way over, and looks like the Griffin Legion is maybe going to get back here on the cannon. It's lurking here, it's circling, and here it comes. And it looks like the Dwarves are not paying attention here. We'll check that in just a moment. Slayers charging after the Akshina ambushers with a bit of a rage boner, and the Dwarves do call in somewhat in the back. Longbeards not going to get the job done. That cannon is going to be taken offline. Slayers will be chasing, but not before that cannon is dispatched. Griffin Legion are a very elite shock cav unit, so they're going to be able to drag that down. Now, triple cap here, 1, 2, and 3 belong to Kislev. Another usage of Crystal Sanctuary. Very fun, man. I love seeing innovation like this. It's very cool. And that's, yeah, a lot of ward save, and I think Crystal Sanctuary lasts a long time. It's like almost 30, yeah, it's like 35 seconds of just making a unit super tanky. Yeah, I mean, that's not terrible, especially against Dwarves, right? You got to think of like Magic that is still going to be good against a faction that direct damage spells don't work well against, and that's kind of neat. I don't hate that at all. Iron Drake's here, getting dragged down also by the Griffin Legion. Slayers are chasing them and waddling. The cannon crew might come back, which is so unfortunate for Kislev. They did that big dive there and worked for it. Now it's going to be coming back here. Slayers in the backfield, just Benny Hilling and being kited and shot by Kossars. And Zargard Grey Open going to be able to probably hammer the Dwarf Warriors off this point. We're going to have to see. Currently as it stands, yeah, Kislev does have this one. Dwarves maybe going to ninja it with their Warriors. We'll check. But yes, Kislev is going to be approaching 1,000 points, and Kislev is actually ahead on value naturally, which is pretty rare in this matchup, so very, very impressive stuff here. Zargard broken off, Akshina ambushers doing what they can against Slayers. Things in the Woods going to be coming out to rip up these Dwarf Warriors, and Kislev does manage to hold on to the objective here. The Dwarf player definitely made a bit of a mistake, should have stayed back on the objective, and tried to capture that there, and just stop the bleeding, because 3 victory tickets per second, man, it adds up really quick. Very good micro from Torsen as well, using the Griffin Legion to effectively hammer down a whole bunch of units on the battlefield. That's been quite nice. All right, guys, the battle is on. Looks like the Dwarves are able to secure Objective 3 here, and now they're going to be securing Objective 2. And you're starting to see what I'm saying about the matchup, right? You can be ahead on value. You can outplay the Dwarves in many ways, but it's still such a hard one. I mean, this game is not over. Griffin Legion coming into the back of the Dwarf Warriors here. Dwarves are really raggedy in the middle. You could definitely just bring like one shock cav unit and hammer all these Dwarven units down. They do have a Dragon Slayer here. Gyrocopters lurking. Waves and waves of Slayers and Doomseekers going to be on their way in. And the Crystal Sanctuary is activated again. And even though it says they can't move, the units in combat still will pile in and fight. So even though you can't give them a move order, if they are in combat with somebody, they'll still pile in and fight in an optimal way. So just something to notice about that ability and that synergy there. All right, Griffin Legion's moving in. Kislev needs to hold on to the point, and they do. They just barely keep that one alive. Kossar is going to be shooting at more Slayers here, and that is one thing Kislev has going for it, is they have a lot of shooting here, and probably will be able to hammer these very tattered Dwarven units up in the points. On the back, though, those Slayers did manage to chase down the Akshinas. Gossified Dervishes, Akshina ambushers, and more Dervishes coming out, so it looks like Kislev was saving up. And they do manage to beat the Dwarves on this point to an extent. Griffin Legion into Slayers, though, is a bit of a disaster. You're going to want to pull those Griffin Legion back. They're very, very expensive, and they do have a good enough mass to push through the Slayers, or at least get away from them. Troll Armor Torpedo still online with 6 models, doing a little bit of damage, and as it currently stands, we would see a victory from Kislev on just 1 point. I don't know if that's a long time to grind with the Dwarves on one objective, though. I think they're going to have to do some shenanigans and some mobility play. What I would probably recommend, if I were backseat driving here, would be Griffin Legion and Dervishes to rotate to objective 2 and threaten that. Although, you got to hold this point, too. It's tricky. He does have the Things in the Woods here and Zargard, which is pretty good fighting. But the Dwarven capture weight here is no joke, man. More Dervishes coming in. Akshina ambushers need to be shooting at the Slayers. 100%. That 0 armor does not love being shot. Granted, they do have bronze shields, which helps. Akshina is still fighting here, and the Akshina ambushers are decent little fighters in melee, but yeah, they'll be able to beat these tattered Dwarves. Objective starting to flip right now. Dwarves are getting that one as the Griffin Legion is going to be sweeping the backfield. I like seeing this, seeing the Griffin Legion as like a sweeper here looking for freebies. Full health Gyrocopter on its way in, and Kossovite Dervish is trying to hold the point, but this is a Dwarven power fantasy here. We do see Crystal Sanctuary and Frostblades activated, and unfortunately he cast Crystal Sanctuary when they weren't quite in melee, so they're not going to be connecting as much, although then the enemy moves into them and then they pile forward, so that's not bad. Akshina's up on the point. They're going to be sitting and shooting, maintaining capture weight years. The Dwarves are going to be approaching 1250 points, which is always a good benchmark of like, they're going to be able to win on just one. Dwarven Gyrocopter is getting shot. Looking on the low ground here, we do see objective 3 for the Dwarves, objective 2 for the Dwarves. Dervishes running down Slayers, and even though it's a bad matchup for Dervishes, the Slayers were so beat up that they're going to be able to win that. Armored Kossars heading in, and Kislev looks like they're a little bit resurgent, honestly. The Things in the Woods getting in. Battling Slayers, unfortunately for them, but they do maintain capture weight. Kislev looks like they're going to be able to steal this objective as well between the Akshinas and the Griffin Legion and the Kossars moving in. And there's a Dwarven Miner, but you could easily just run them down with Griffin Legion. So this is a good opportunity for them to steal the point. And they do also have some more Dervishes that they can move up and contest with. Akshina circling, shooting Slayers in the side, which is a brilliant play. And now some of the Slayers do move in to try and stop them from shooting. The Akshinas should be able to fight them, although it looks like they're being given a charge order to actually attack the Slayers in the back. Dwarf Lord, by the way, very low, only at 200 HP. Taking him down would be quite relevant. I mean, Dwarves are high leadership, but negative 16 leadership off 75 really is not bad, right? That can make the difference between breaking these chaff units off the point at the end of the game here. So Kislev is going for it. That's going to be leaving objective 3 open. And will they be able to get this one? The Dwarves, man, are such a menace in this matchup. They're still, I personally feel like Torsen had a lot of plays that were slightly stronger than the Dwarven plays. Not even slightly, but quite a bit. And still, this game is just so razor close. Just the dynamic between the two units, two factions units, it's tricky, man. Griffin Legion, rear charging into Longbeards. Very, very nice there, but Slayers are going to be piling in on them. Watchmen of the Night here, a good call. I like them in the late game. They have really high defensive stats, good armor, and will be able to butcher Slayers as well as Dwarvish non-great open infantry. Although it does look like Don't Try So Hard does have some great weapons, which will be able to counter them. So both players kind of playing tit for tat here, which is fun. All right, so objective number 2 is owned by Kislev. He's going to be approaching 1,400 points. And then I think what you do is you just go all, yeah, he's already doing it. Go all in on objective 3. Akshina's are a stalking unit, so the Dwarves are not going to see that capture coming. This is probably a lost cause. Although these Watchmen in the Night, I think will they beat this Dwarf unit? Ooh, that's hard to say. Maybe their bonus versus infantry is enough. It's only 5, I guess. So that's a bit of a dodgy fight. We'll see how they do. They do have the same amount of models as the Dwarves. I think the Watchmen might win it just because their stats are so much better, 48 and 40. And they do have the Unbreakable thing, but even still, Longbeards are no joke, man. All right. Kislev loses that objective. They are able to hold on to this one, and we do see Dervishes coming in for capture weight. Probably just rotate towards objective 3 now. This one's going to be hard to hold, although you could park here and delay for as long as possible. Dwarves going to be calling in blasting charges now, and it looks like Homie is going to be opting for objective 3, which I think is a good call. I mean, they're both viable plays. Try and play 2 or rotate over to objective 3. Akshina's have it. Dwarven infantry are going to be a bit of a micro blunder. Every second matters here. Okay, no, he's committing to this fight, which is totally fine. He already has infantry here. He's got the Lord and might be able to break this Dwarvish position with a nice cavalry charge. And will the Akshinas be able to hold this down? The Dervish should have been called in right here to ninja cap this objective instead of on the middle. But really not that huge of a mistake. Right now, these two cav units should probably detach and just ninja this one because this one's so far from the Dwarf army. It's kind of a guaranteed victory if they're able to get it. But the Dwarven infantry are on their way over. They are coming. He's going to continue trying to hold this one. And the Dervishes, yeah, running out of steam here. The Dwarves have a Dragon Slayer, and Dwarvish infantry are just such machines. Slayer's there, and if this point flips, it's game over. He's not going to have enough time. But what a close knockdown, drag-out game. Really, really down to the wire. And you can see the tenacity of the Dowie, man. Don't Try So Hard had a nice comeback, too. He was losing pretty hard in the early game, losing several key assets and getting him taken offline, but he still scrapped well and was able to almost come back. So that's a look at the matchup. Very cool Akshina play, very cool Zargard. Still was very, very contested. The army for Torsen is good. I like it. I think it's very solid. Map dependent. If it's an open field map, he probably can't get away with the Zargard, but here, I thought they did fine, and it was badass. They looked really good. Value on the Zargard, 1100, 1400, not bad. The magic usage was really interesting. I wonder if that's better than just using big blizzards to blast dwarvish infantry blobs. Who knows? I mean, I'm trying to think of what magic options are good against dwarves. Yeah, honestly, the Frostblades isn't terrible on Zargard to give them a lot of killing power. I love the Doomseeker play from Don't Try So Hard. They were pretty cool. Ended up dying though, probably to Akshinas. All right, guys, that's it for today. Well played, these mighty champions, and we will see you all on the other side.